Welcome, everyone, to the Why podcast and show series about ambition, purpose, and all that good stuff. So I'm joined here today with Gary. How you going, Gary?
Hey, man, I'm really good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming in. I've only just met Gary, briefly just before, but we have been speaking on social media. I think you reached out and said, hey, man, I used to be involved in DGA. Let's have a chat. And instantly that grabbed my attention because I do remember back in I call them the OG days, but 2015 when that transition happened between DGA and NT Esports that was formed. So look, before we get into things, let's do a bit of introduction on you, man. Tell us about yourself and where you're from and what you're about.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, my name's Gary. I'm local, and I run a few little businesses here and there. So, I work in IT mostly, and things I do are like cybersecurity. And this year, I'm focusing on making content. So, it's been real amazing to not only have the opportunity to talk about one of my passions, which is gaming and the community, but then get a behind-the-scenes tour of what you're doing. It's sick.
Yeah, no, and that's another reason why I'm actually doing these podcasts is it allows me to connect directly with people. And I think that is something that's missing and has been missing for quite some time with the rise of social media. There's this disconnect, I feel, with people just talking and having a conversation. So this is great. It leads to new opportunities and possibilities. And so tell us about these businesses you're into and you're a bit ambitious. I really respect that.
Yeah, thanks. So, one of the things that's really missing in Darwin is this sort of startup scene where there's lots of young people and lots of talent, and most of the time we have to leave. We got to go down south. And after getting schooled down south, I was like, I want to stick around and do something here. So one of the things I was pretty good at was cybersecurity. So I sort of spun up a business in that area. And
that's big now, actually. I worked a little bit in IT, and that was one of the big things that was involved in business. The importance of that now.
Yeah, that's right. And it's everywhere, and it's totally unseen. So it's been my game of the year last year was Cyberpunk, and so it's just so crazy to be like, oh, okay, the game is a little bit different from the work, but you can see the connection and what inspired what.
Yeah, the Cyberpunk game. You talking about the game, right?
Yeah, the game. Yeah, not the tabletop, not the tabletop, not the OG version, but the one that was with the infamy around it.
Yeah, there's a few games coming out like that.
Game of the year one.
Oh yeah, you mean that very sarcastically, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I had so much fun playing it.
Yeah,
so much because I played on PlayStation 4.
Right.
I mean, I played on my PlayStation 5. Yeah, I was really lucky like that to have one of those.
Yeah.
But I played the PlayStation 4 version, which was the most atrocious one, and because it was so bad, it was good.
You liked it.
Yeah.
You liked it in that sense. Wow, that's really interesting from a player's perspective. I mean, I was talking to Dylan about game development in the second episode I think he was on, and it's such a big industry now, and these developers are getting to the point where they're just trying to release games. I mean, that game was in development for what, 10 years or something?
Yeah, 10 years. And you'd think, on the one hand, there was levels of polish, but then on the other hand, it just wasn't ready. But the game was so ambitious, it's even like a stage of the game. It's not even there, but I'm not criticizing it. I still had fun with it, and I can appreciate it for what it is.
Sure.
The things that it did well, no game can really match what it did well.
I guess every game has its uniqueness. But yeah, gaming is obviously a passion of yours, and that's really good to know. Let's talk about the Darwin Gaming group, DGA. So you were a part of that group.
Yeah, I was a part of that group. You like to call it the OG days, but I kind of, I totally agree with that. But for my mind, the golden era of the OG days was getting driven around by your mum and carting around like a 20-kilo PC case and just gaming with everybody. And as you said, there was this connection, and that's sort of missing nowadays. Because when I was growing up playing games, it was 4 controllers and 4 mates.
Yep.
And then it went to 40 kilos worth of equipment and 4 Ethernet cords and a switch to now we never have to see anybody at all.
Yeah, LAN party. I guess that has been a benefit and a disconnect. Even though we're more connected online, it's sort of this in-person disconnection.
Mm.
We had a LAN party for Halo Infinite back in December.
Wicked.
The feedback I got from that was just phenomenal. It was actually in this studio. We turned this into a LAN party.
Yeah.
But what was great about it is not so much. I mean, it could have been any game. It could have been any game that we were doing. It could have been Call of Duty, but we chose Halo Infinite because that was a new game out. And the atmosphere. You walk in, we had music playing, we had like some disco lights going on. You had your setup here with ample room. We had snacks over here. It was just a great inviting. We had people yelling and carrying on, but that was the fun of it.
Mm.
And it was just that whole experience of being in the same room, playing with your mates and just having a good social gaming experience. So
Yeah, it really does give a whole new meaning, or reinvigorates an old meaning to screen sniping, where it's like, I'm literally seeing what you're doing and I'm coming for you. You know?
do you consider yourself as much of a gamer as you were, or are you sort of like not as big into it as you were, you reckon?
I think a big thing is like, as time goes on, I'm not so much an elitist anymore. Like everybody kind of goes through phases, like PC Master Race, or that's not playing at 1080 by 1080. That's right. That's what I said. Yeah, not even 1080p.
Some people will understand what you mean there, I reckon.
And then all of a sudden now, because I watched the industry change, and it was like gaming went from PC Master Race or literally just playing video games on your console to, you know, the only games are super hardcore indie games like Super Meat Boy
Mm-hmm.
to like Pokemon Go, and I find it's just so accessible now. And that's
Yeah,
huge.
there is, and it's a huge industry, the gaming, and you're right. It has branched off into a lot of different subgenres of gaming. Like obviously you've got your casual indie games, and then you've got your competitive games. You've got your augmented reality games, Pokemon Go, and you got mobile games as well, making their they're not as big here now, but they're making their stance as well in the scene. So it's quite interesting, and I think it has evolved a lot since those DGA days.
Yeah. Gaming used to be a haven for a lot of people who didn't have anywhere else to go and could express themselves there in that medium. And
Mm.
it's one of the few industries in the world that actually pioneers everybody's uniqueness. And I guess like for somebody like me, it's huge to have that.
It's quite funny, and it's a bit ironic actually how it actually all happened. This whole transition from DGA to NT Esports, because when I created NT Esports, I was just this guy with an idea that I wanted to bring. I didn't actually know DGA existed until someone reached out to me and said, "Oh yeah, we're DGA. We run the scene here." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Um, and at that time, I think DGA they stood back and they said, "Look, we're going in a hiatus. If anyone wants to take over, let us know." And that's sort of when I started NT Esports as a transitional shift. And I mean, I always give credit to DGA that they were the original ones that sort of started esports in Darwin. Although I was the one that just put the name in the brand, right? I just started the esports.
You carried the torch, man.
Yeah.
Like, thing is that for this guy or whoever's going to be, there's always little underground communities. I think back to like my uni days, and even at CDU, there was a few of us. Well, actually, there were heaps of us in the computer labs, always playing games like old school CS:GO, the original Dota, Age of Empires, all these kind of things. And it was just a little underground scene.
Yep.
And it's great because you can just take this break from not like from reality and totally just go away. I'm not talking about living in the metaverse. I'm just saying you get to enrich
People are
your
starting
life.
to do that.
Oh yeah, they're starting to do that. I actually thought, just as like a sidebar, I was like, I want to go and buy some land in Decentraland.
Yeah.
Because it should be cheap and infinite, right?
Yep.
No, it's like 20 grand, and I was like, oh no, I've missed a wave.
Yeah, well, what I'm starting to see, and this has been sort of building up ever since those days of 2015 when esports was sort of newly accepted as a thing that is now in Darwin that's official. Because I tried to, I guess that's one of the things I did differently to DGA. I tried to put it on the map in terms of, all right, esports competition. This is going to be a push on actual comps that we're going to be doing. I think you did a few Dota 2 comps as well, but they were a bit more underground. sort of.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but that's huge because you've got to have that structure. You've got to have that thing that, like, I guess in the business world, they call it a core competency. And
Mm.
esports overall is huge. And, but we got to also, like, I'm just going to say this, but, the fans of the people of esports are the fans of the game.
Mm.
And, like, me personally, I love speed running.
Yeah.
And I just love it when someone who is amazing just does things that the developer didn't intend.
That's actually something I haven't, well, I've thought about, but I guess it requires, like any game or any genre or any sub genre in gaming or esports, it's one of those things that needs to be sort of just done and then get interest. We find that with a lot of different games that we're doing. It's one of the reasons why we don't run every game under the sun, because we have to go with what people want. Speed running is something I do wish to experiment with, as well with things like mobile gaming and niche things out there. So it'd be interesting to see that. I'd love to see a speed running leaderboard in Darwin.
Yeah, that'd be sick. But even from little things, big things grow. Even if we just had a watch party and we watched the major event, and try to raise some money too, that'd
That's
be
great.
cool.
Yeah, no, I'm very welcoming of those ideas and suggestions, mate. That's really cool. Have you got any big events or anything you're involved in coming up?
No big events, but I am cooking up a project, so I may as well talk about
Yeah,
it
tell
here.
us about that.
Yeah, so I'm getting into what's called Web3.
Right.
So everyone's talking about like Web 2.0, where the internet sort of responds to what you're doing, and
Sure.
Web 3 is this idea that everything's moving on the blockchain, and you can never really disrupt it. It's always going to be there. And
Right.
so it's based on crypto,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of artists and a lot of people in Darwin who are very interested in trying to take advantage of the space and move into the space. But
Talking about NFTs,
yeah,
things like that. Yep.
NFTs,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But the thing is that you got it behind the technology. If you don't understand it, there's a risk, and I don't want anybody getting ripped off. And with my cybersecurity background, it was like a perfect match. So why not?
So that's, I guess, goes into your why and your purpose. You want to help people understand. You want to help, as a service, help people and have that platform for people to safely get involved without the risk. Well, minimizing the risk, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Because the thing is that technology comes natural to me, but it doesn't actually come naturally to everybody. And being able to sort of share your gift, it just helps you find sense of meaning in what you do, other than what, because I can just do it for myself, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think a lot of people don't understand it. I mean, I've looked at a bit of information on NFTs and I sort of understand. It's, I guess, the way people are looking at what value is these days. I mean, you can liken it to well, I actually, the way I explain it, well, my understanding of it
Mm.
is like a skin or a purchasable item that's in a game that's of value that no one else can have, basically. So you've got like a digital ownership of that item or whatever it is.
Yeah, so like a classic example, not to like just harp back in the day, but I'll tell you this story, and for all the young ones out there, like don't laugh at me too much, but it's brutal. So I had the original Pokemon cards, and I had all of them, all 152, including shiny Charizard, all this stuff. That was huge.
Wow. How long ago was this?
I don't know. Am I allowed to disclose how old I am? It's pretty old, man. Gen 1. Yeah,
Yeah,
booster
yeah. Back in
packs.
the day, that would have been like 1999, sort of around 1998 to 1999, sort of.
Yeah, I reckon like me and Malcolm in the Middle could have been real friends.
Okay,
So
that's cool.
yeah, and so the story goes is I had all these cards right, and I was so excited to hang out with my mates that I just jumped in the pool, and then they all died. However, like the cards were destroyed.
Oh, the cards were destroyed, even the holographics.
Yeah, like they all stick together, and then you can't. What are you supposed to do, and how are you going to explain this to your parents, let alone all your friends, because you've lost all your clout.
Oh man, that's tragic. Think about it nowadays.
Yeah, think about it nowadays. But this is the thing: if there was NFT technology back then, I could still have a proof of ownership that I had them. But there's no record of that. So for all anybody ever says it, like, "Oh, Gary, you never had a $5,000 Charizard," you'd be like, "Yeah, I did, I swear." And I still remember the
Yeah,
time that kid stole it.
yeah. No, that's a really good point. The ability to have high value ownership of something, which is held in a, I guess, a secure online environment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And yeah, it's just you hit the nail on the head.
Do you see it actually? Because a lot of people probably looking at NFT, and some people even still skeptical of so cryptocurrency. I mean, what are your initial thoughts there? Do you think do you think it's going to go boom, this NFT thing? Do you think a lot of people, or is it just a fad that's going to have its peak and then just die off?
I actually think it's the same way as, let's just make a video game example. I think like there were these first generation games like Pong and Atari, or even no, not even Super Nintendo, just the NES. And like a lot of those games suck. If you like go and watch Angry Video Game Nerd, he'll tell you how bad these games are. The the technology changes and it improves, but you could be unlucky and adopt something that isn't quite right. And that's kind of what I want to be able to do, is look at it and say, is this upgradable, or is for the thing that you want to, what you think you're getting out of this, does that make sense? And for a lot of people, they're trying to make NFTs, but NFTs have special properties, like,
Yep.
and you want to be able to take advantage of that to make your art or whatever you're doing stand out.
Yeah. Look, I've actually seen there are some contacts in Darwin that might be interested in talking to you, because at these geek events that we're having, I'm just calling them geek events. I know that's very stereotypical, but that's what they're calling it. There's a geek culture now in Darwin, and basically it involves gaming, cosplay, arts, anime, pop culture, all that kind of stuff, all in the one. We sort of call it the community now. But a few events that we've had, they've been like people doing a bit traditional in terms of a stall or something like that, where they'd have their artwork on display, and people would sort of walk past and look at it and pick it up, have a look, and maybe purchase that particular art that this person has put their passion, their expression into, and they'll talk about it and things like that. Imagine if that was NFT.
Yeah,
Imagine if you had like a virtual, like it could be augmented reality, like an augmented reality gallery, where you had someone and you can select on your phone the artwork.
Yeah, well, I guess great minds think alike, because that's the direction that this is going. Like as a like a tangent, one of the things that I do sometimes is I lecture at CDU in humanitarian topics, and so there are
Awesome.
students who want to change the world, right, and respond to disasters. So what I like to do, what I'm planning to do, is actually build AR assets, so that way they can be viewed, and I can kind of like put a disaster situation in front of them, and then they can see it that way, but then they can see the world as it actually is and make decisions that way, rather than just looking at a 2D picture. So you always got to innovate, and that's the problem with
Yeah.
education nowadays, is that there's so many ways to be educated, but it's got to be fun and it's got to be good. Like that's what I love about
Yeah,
video
it's
games.
engaging, and I think that's why people. Well, some people like these a whole different thing. I think that's why Pokemon Go was such a big hit, because it was different. It was innovative. It had that. It just revolutionized the game. Like the
Yeah.
going out and pulling your phone up and catching like this this creature on your phone, which isn't even there. It's like and that actually segues me to talk about the augmented reality project we've actually filmed here in the studio.
Wicked.
We did a bombing of Darwin, which is coming up. It's Darwin Remembers, and it's a full augmented reality geographical history telling experience.
Yeah.
So I actually played the lone gunner, which was the guy that actually, well, it tells a story of one of the guys who went down with the USS Peary in the bombing of Darwin. And you can actually go to the gun turret that's on at Darwin, pull out your phone, load the experience, and I'll be there as an actor in an American accent, telling you the story. And there'll be a 3D model of the USS Peary on the water that you'll be able to see with your phone.
Yeah, like honestly, I love that story, and I love the fact that you've done that and the people you were able to work with to bring that experience to life for others, because that's cool. We've got the tech, and let me just say this: Darwin is super underrated. Like,
I agree, 100%.
yeah, like everyone likes to talk about like Bangaroo, or the Silicon Cove down there, or the Gold Coast or whatever, but I Darwin is just cool, and there's just something. There's a way that you can be here that you cannot really be down south. It's really hard to describe, and this is not a jab at them at all. I'm just saying that different cultures, different people will find a home in different places. And you can see that in the States, where different developers are from different places and they make different games and they
Yeah.
have different crowds. And
Yeah, I've actually found that with, well, using my example with what my businesses such as the gaming and esports and karaoke. It's not that I had no real competition. There wasn't as much. I mean, you did have sort of a little bit of competition of who's doing what, but you've got a bit of an more open playing field up here, if you will, on if you've got an idea or got something, and you've got a captured market. The market's a bit easier to capture because you have that. Everyone knows everyone, sort of like not everyone knows everyone, but it's a small. They always say Darwin's a small town, and news travels fast. So I think that's a really good advantage and an encouragement for people that want to, not change the world, but do something that's impactful for the community. Do you agree with that?
oh, absolutely. And just to add to that, there's something about this place where if you're ambitious and you've got 100 ideas or even just one idea or even half an idea, you can do it. You literally can just go out and do it, and there's support and there's backing, and everyone's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess we could have another one of those. There's still room for those. Like, that's
Absolutely.
like for me, some of the content that I've been making, like I like to make audio and music content and the cybersecurity content, and then sometimes I go out and I stream and things like this. But with all these different ideas and all these different ventures, it's totally possible to put them all under one roof. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what you're doing too, because you've got so much ability and skill and,
Oh,
people.
thanks, man.
Yeah,
Very humble. Yeah, no, it's great. And look, I got to be honest. I give credit to the people that are around me. So I think that's very important in success in anything that you want to do is surround yourself with people that believe in what you want to do. I mean, if I didn't have my team of volunteers and helpers with gaming and esports, there's no way I could have run those seasons or those events. Same with karaoke and events on the entertainment side. I need some hosts to run events for me if I can't make one, for instance. But it's about belief. It's about the why, if we want to stay on the subject of purpose and everything like that. Because if people see that in you, and people they gravitate towards you and they support you, and like we said, Darwin's a small place. If you can have something that you want to achieve, yeah, Darwin's a great place to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, because it's still a pioneer spirit here in that regard. And even myself, I think about your volunteers, and I wonder if they had the same opportunities in terms of getting experience in doing all these things. Like, I'm on a podcast today with you, and your volunteers would have an opportunity to get skills that it's not theoretical. They get to go and do it, and that's going to help them be better
Yeah.
later on in life or whatever they want to do. It's cool.
Absolutely. Look, it's all about going to the next level, or in what I call it, the next tier. That's the next tier philosophy, is to help others get value in what they do and help them get to the next level.
Like, one of the things that most people don't kind of understand about me is that I like to do it for like the culture and for the people, and most importantly, I want to have fun in what I'm doing. And that's a real millennial type of thing to say, but there's no reason to suffer. There's no reason to do it hard. My personal philosophy with things is that if it's supposed to happen, it will be easy. And if it's really, really hard and it's not a video game like Ori, then maybe think about, is this the right way forward?
We're always going to have challenges in life, and there's nothing worth getting is going to be easy. There's going to be all this worry. You're going to have setbacks and everything, but try to find something, especially in business or something that you're really going for, that you enjoy. You actually need to have some level of enjoyment. Or if you can't find enjoyment, you have to sort of find another means to separate yourself, or um, try to find a bit of happiness, I guess. Because if you just work all the time, it drives you. I can say this from experience. It's very hard for people to follow you in some cases when they're following this crazy mad guy that, is just so ambitious that it just gets a bit overdrive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know what they say just about working in general in the office culture is that people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. And I agree with
And
you.
the culture too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and the culture. And I agree with you. You got to put in the work. You got to work hard. how else are you going to get that progression and sense of accomplishment?
Mm.
How are you going to find your why? How are you going to get to that next tier, in your words?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, if I can have fun while doing it, like, I think it's just a bit of an Aussie thing too. You
Yeah.
know, like, if it's all going down in flames, I can still crack a joke, can't I?
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. It's the Aussie way. And recognition's a good thing as well. People need to be a bit, stop being so hard on themselves. Again, from personal experiences, I'd always get down about some things that happened in the past or everything, and then that blinds you to actually seeing what's good that's happening. There's so many good things happening, so many big events running or helping people get something, and it's just that needs to be celebrated constantly. Like if you do something great out there and impactful, tell people about it. Don't be shy to. Don't get too cocky and boast, and just tell people, look, oh wow, I did this today. This is amazing, and put it back on them as well, and try to see if they've achieved something as well, because I'm sure they would like to share with you what they've done as well.
Yeah, I've only got two things to say about that, man. And the first one is that you got to back yourself. Like, if you don't like it, no one's going to love you the same way that you're going to love you and what you're doing. Yeah, because you're the one who has to do it. And the second thing is, maybe I learnt this from being a lecturer and helping people at uni go through and learn things. But you got to have like some positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
It's actually been scientifically proven that the students that do well are the ones that get positive reinforcement, and the students that don't do well continuously receive negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
So how are they supposed to know, am I improving or not, if they have to wait like 9 weeks for feedback?
Yeah.
You just got to tell them on day one, like, that was a good attempt. You
Yeah.
kind of messed it up, but I'll let you resubmit.
Yeah, no, it's good to have that constructive but positive criticism, because we have that disconnection with people in some cases, I guess. Social media, that's actually a disorder now. Social media disorder. People are addicted to it so much that they lose a sense of reality in what's real, and even it leads to things like social anxiety. And I'm actually reading a book on it, on mindfulness and things like that, and the importance of being internally mindful and present, which can greatly affect your external things. So that's a good message, I guess, to get out there is, try to improve yourself, because it will actually assist with a lot of other aspects of life and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we're always going to be our hardest, our own harshest critic. But I say this, and I literally said this in one of my first YouTube videos. I was like, all my videos are crap, but crap is cool, and I'm doing it. And if you can see me trying to give it a go, then you give it a go. There's no shame. There's no shame in it. Well, I guess you got to grow until that point, because it's easy. Oh, guys, that's easy for you to say, man. I've got this, that, or the other. But actually, when you realize that you can carry a mantle for someone else and inspire someone else, that's what I love about some of my favorite streamers. It's like, wow, they're just doing it, and I can give it a go too.
Yeah, no, the leadership in things like that is great. To show someone that they can do something. I mean, even with this podcast, I'd love to have people come in here and do their own podcasts one day soon. It'd be great to see people just get their message out. I mean, this is called The Why, which is just a general good topic to talk about, but it could be anything. Not try to keep it not as controversial. Don't want to get pulled off the air or something like that. But just a way to express and have an open platform for people to share ideas, talk about subjects, and do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, let me tell you a story, and why these podcasts in this kind of format is real good. Because you're talking about like media use disorder, and people who become the persona that they think they are online. Like, they literally think they are the filtered picture, and they think that all these likes or whatever are the thing. And like, on the one hand, that is a reality, but is also not the complete reality. So, because I used to do a lot of professional work, I didn't always wear a Pokémon hat, but I got this from Melbourne. But the thing is that I used to be on LinkedIn a lot, right? Heaps, guys. And I ended up just deleting everything. Like, hundreds of followers. I had heaps of, all my skills were like higher than everybody else's. Number one skill was like leadership, and everyone's like, how are you going to get a skill like that? Heaps of reviews, all this positive stuff. But I actually found that the people who you're meeting and engaging with on that platform, they're nothing like that at all. And they're either really boastful, and then you're like, oh man, my day sucked, but this person in my same field is getting way ahead of me. That's not good for you.
Do you think it's sort of like an online sugarcoat of some people, you think, of what they really is? That what you're trying to say?
I think there's a lot of, yeah, sugarcoating is definitely the way, and there's like, it's easy to lose touch with just how capable you are. Like, so in
Mm.
cybersecurity, someone might be the most super amazing cybersecurity expert ever, but they don't actually do any coding, and that's not a stab, but it is also to say like it's a bit disingenuous, and sometimes people are like, I'm actually this amazing person, and I'm going to cut you down this way, or
Yeah.
the worst is someone is shown to be so amazing, and you really think maybe they could help me, or maybe they could do something nice for somebody else,
Yeah.
and actually they're like, look, can you just remove me from all the things you tagged me in, never talk to me, and I'm never going to help that woman, yada yada yada, and you're just like, whoa, you're just here to
Wow.
look, to be that, you know what I mean? You just want a
Yeah.
pat on the back. You're not actually here to help anybody.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess that can come down to a bit of disconnect as well with that interaction with people. If it's just online, you're just sort of talking in text. You don't get to see the human element. I mean, I like to be able to, when I'm talking to people, express myself because that's the best way. You can see the emotion. You can communicate better in person. I mean, I think everyone will agree with that. But when it's text, I mean, what have you got? Emojis? You got emojis to sort of express your feelings? Ha ha ha, lol. Um,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like for me personally, I think there's an art to talking in text, but the best text conversations are when you've had that face-to-face connection, and you can say something absolutely is going to have no context, make no sense, and then the other person is going to laugh and be like lovely about whatever it is that you said. But at the same time, though, like for me, and guys, I'm just getting up here and I'm just talking like, but it doesn't necessarily come easy. So for some of us who are in esports or in this gaming field or IT or whatever, it's like it could be socially awkward, or you're going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
or you're going to do a lot of these or whatever. It's
Yeah.
all good, but like me and the host of this show, we're building a rapport, and guys, it takes time
Yeah.
to get that and iron all the creases before you're like laughing at each other's jokes without even saying anything.
We're literally building rapport right now, everyone. I don't think anyone realizes this. I haven't actually met Gary before. You'd think that I had, and that's why I found it quite funny that we hadn't met because the DGA, going back to DGA, I didn't actually get to meet. I met a few people, and a few people. I think Kieran was one of the other guys. I knew of him, but most people moved on. Either they had a family or they're just outgrown it. Some people do that. They choose the lifestyle that they want. Even people that have been involved in next tier gaming and esports, it's been going for 7 years now, nearly 7 years, and there's been over like 20 or 30 people involved, from volunteers to even business owners involved with me that have moved on because it's not their path, or that they had to choose a path, which a full respect to that. But it must go on, right? It must go on, and people get involved, and that's the reason I'm saying this is because it's very important to keep your why in focus. Because if your why isn't strong and your purpose isn't strong and people can't see it, how can you lead more people to join you and believe in what you want and believe in the vision that you have as well? So, yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with that, man. And like, you're really grounded, and I know you're going to stay grounded in the future. One thing that when I was at uni, I got to study leadership, and what's crazy about studying that is everyone in that class was like, "There's no way that you can learn about it from a book or whatever." But you'd be surprised about what you can take away from different things. And one of the big things just in Darwin that I notice about people who are in leadership positions is that this is something, your image and your reputation is something that you have to manage. And I'm just saying this totally in the abstract, but it is the fact that once people start to think that everything that is being done is only for them, like for their advancement and not for anybody else's, that you gotta have a problem, because you gotta lead people. They're people. They're
Yeah.
not objects. They're not like tools. They're
That I
actual people.
100% agree. Because you're right. If you do make it about just you and what you're getting, and you don't think of other people, yeah, there's only so far you can go. There's
Yeah.
only so far you can go because if you, and it's about value, and yeah, what people see and what you're doing. If they had no reason to be involved with it, then why would they? They can be doing plenty of better things with their lives, or finding someone that they do want to follow or do want to be involved in. So yeah, you're 100% right. It's
Yeah,
definitely about
yeah.
that.
Like, I noticed the same thing because, like, one thing that I've been doing lately is I've been playing a lot of video games with my girlfriend, right? And I'm really lucky like that. However, I'm allowed to say this, she kind of sucks at playing them. And for me, I was like, I went on Reddit and I was like, does anyone have any advice? And the first comment was,
Oh my God.
have you tried yelling at her more? And I was like, oh my God. Because the irony was that I was actually just getting really upset. I was like, how can you just not do twin stick controller, change camera angles, and then
Yeah.
play God of War? This is the second game you've ever played. I totally lost touch about actually my own journey with video games and how however old I am, and I've been
Yeah.
playing for years upon years upon years, and people have come, people have gone, games have come, games have gone, and
Yeah.
I retain that skill. And when it comes to inspiring someone to have the same love and passion and enjoyment that I got out of games, she does now. She's awesome. She's like I said, Ori, I can't even beat that game. She clocked that game.
Wow.
Yeah, all on her own, man. And I was like, that's crazy. And eventually you're like, well, you got to be kind, you got to be understanding, and then you got to be like, remember the difference, because we come so far,
Yeah.
but it's about staying humble, and at the same time going, well, um, I'm making it work. That is the thing. Like, stop criticizing me because I am making it work. And then
That's a great story, man.
when it's my turn to play, I don't do what I'm told either. So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there's got to be that connection, words of encouragement, and not being too hard on people when they're getting involved. Even the youth that are getting into gaming now, like, got to be really, I guess, aware of what we're doing when we're getting people into the game. We don't want to encourage bad behaviors. We want to encourage, as an all-inclusive, be respectful to others.
sportsmanship.
Yeah, or esportsmanship. Yeah, it's something that it especially needs to be taught online. There needs to be, I think it needs to be taught in schools actually, how to behave online and know that people, even though you are online behind a keyboard, it does not give you the, like, you got to sort of think, how would you talk to this person if you were right next door?
Mm.
Would you be, hurling abuse and, telling them to self-harm and all that? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that to a normal person. So why do you do that online?
Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity like that. But it's interesting. This is an interesting topic overall because I've actually found that when I was coaching a cybersecurity competition, right, the kids it was like they weren't really talking in person, but they were talking on Discord. And I was like, there is this communication channel that I'm not a part of. But the thing is that they don't realize that Uncle Gary is cool too. So I'm like, can I get invited to the Discord? And they're like, oh, sweet. And
Yeah.
because you have money, can you pay for it to get proper? You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Oh, the
oh,
boost.
yeah, give me the boost. And I was like, there's always a price with you kids. Mm.
Yeah, no, we got a Discord channel as well. Yeah, which is great. A great way to communicate. All the platforms have their ways of communicating, I guess. But yeah, I still believe in, the good old face to face. I know it's very hard at the moment with COVID and
Face-to-face gaming in a competitive sense, nothing really comes close.
mm,
Like one of my favorite FPSs is still GoldenEye, and there is something being within 1 meter of someone, and it's clutch time, and you're like, these controllers are janky AF, but we can do this. I mean, like,
yeah.
I'm going to take you down. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we find that even with the fighting games. We run fighting games generally in a in-person setting because they don't like online. Sometimes the servers are not really good, especially with games like Super Smash. Like they like
Shame on Nintendo. They're so good, but they're so bad at the same time.
yeah. So the server they're like nah, not even negotiable. It's played in person. So, but we get that experience. We get that. Yeah, you're right next to each other. The clutch moments happening. Everyone's just there's excitement. That's what I think esports brings people, the typical gamer. That's something that gives them value in their gaming. And we
Yeah.
want to give them that.
That's actually, speaking of getting value out of things, you just reminded me of one of the reasons why I love high quality speed runs is because the guys have such mastery that they actually explain what's happening. And for someone who is like a bit of a noob at it or not that familiar with it, you get like, you learn how this is all being done. And that's what really important with esports. Because think about like AFL, like people who love AFL, they actually understand all the rules, everything. They're like, he was touched too many times, this, out of the other. And it's like, where did you learn all that stuff? But video games, well, there's a lot to learn about video games too. So I think for our esports champions and stuff, and the people who make tutorials and walkthroughs and explain things, like you're doing everyone a huge service because sometimes we can't keep up.
Yeah, the shoutcasters do a fantastic job of that. I have a team that I've had on board with me, um, with some real notable ones that do actually study the game, not only the game, but they study the players, the teams. They get that information. They share that as a story as well as commentary. So you're getting to know sort of what's going on at the same time as learning about the game and the stories between the two teams. I think that's very important, a bit of storytelling in sports. You see it done really well with UFC, all right? When there's a fight coming up, they'll like build it up. They'll like build the rivalry and that story between, and that gets people like emotionally invested in this UFC fight that's coming up. So that's something I really want to start to see in, not that we're trying to like pit people against each other or nothing like that, but it's more the emotional journey that people like to see. And that's why, reality TV is so successful.
Yeah.
Because it shows that story.
But that's the thing about being a gaming or a streaming star or something like that, is that actually there's a lot that's really public about your life already, and it's hard to. We talk about it in an abstract sense, like it's so easy just to delineate and put boundaries up, but actually that's really hard to do, even in just everyday life.
Yep.
But one thing I wanted to say was, uh, you were talking about the competitive aspect of commentary. One of my favorite types of commentary is actually why I like old school cricket, was because they used to have a bit of a joke and a laugh at the same time. And then there's something magical about a commentator who can just be telling that story, but everyone's just like coming along for the ride, because cricket's boring,
Yeah,
man.
I used to watch a bit of cricket. Not as much anymore, but when Richie Beno and a few of them, like Richie Beno he was like a veteran, right? And he had that. Everyone would listen to him because he's just got that knowledge that no one else had in anything that's being told. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something about it, and like I think the album is The 12th Man, is like a bit of a spin-off on like cricket commentary.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it just makes me cackle all the time, man. I'm like, it's just such good Aussie colloquialisms and ways of expressing things, and because there's like gaming culture too. So when there's like there's pictures of the memes where it's like you're only the tip of the iceberg, and this meme is like 10 meme layers deep, and then when you can crack a joke like that with the audience and everyone gets it, it's gold, man.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we better wrap things up. Is there anything else you want to let us know, man, about your why and your purpose? I guess we'll just touch on it again. You're very passionate about what you do. You like teaching. You like inspiring people. That's really good qualities, man. I really respect that of you. Is there anything else you want to add?
I'd say one of the things about the why, bro, is that deep down inside, like I always like to say, I'm a little bit of a warrior or something, but there's a drive. Yeah, there is a passion. There's this thing where I still want to be the best. Like I want to catch them all. Like my gaming name is Rival Gaz. From the OG Ash Ketchum Rival.
Nice.
Yeah, and I still got that tag after all these years. And there's just something about you got to have that drive, and I'm gonna do it, and for yourself and to inspire others, because you can be strong for them, and then they can be strong for you.
That's awesome, man. Great messages there. Well, look, Gary, we could probably speak for more hours on end, but let's get you on the show again one day. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Why. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.